outside of ball placement, I tell you that the decision making with the football, that's all encompassing. Pass game, the RPO game, the decision making when it comes to that stuff. I thought Josh Allen continues to be the benchmark for that.
That's Dan Orlovsky, in his own words, explaining the pick that broke the internet this week. Not Patrick Mahomes, not Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, the best decision maker in all of football, according to Orlovsky's own third annual quarterback trade rankings. So here's the question I want you sitting with before you make up your mind. Is Josh Allen actually the smartest quarterback in the league with the ball in his hands? Or did Dan Orlovsky just hand out the most indefensible ranking of the offseason? Comment your verdict right now. I'll give you mine at the end.
I think his only weakness as a quarterback is decision making. And Dano's telling us, actually, contraire, my friend, he's the best in the world at it. And it's just not what I have experienced throughout his career. It's a baffling ranking to me.
That's Nick Wright, and he's not holding back. Baffling, not I disagree, not interesting take, baffling, said twice for emphasis, live on national television, about a ranking his own friend put his name on.
Finally, Emmy Award-winning analyst Dan Orlovsky ranked the top quarterbacks by trait. Arm strength was Josh Allen. Ball placement was Stafford. Second reaction ability, I thought that was interesting. Josh Allen again. And decision making, out of the box pick here, it was Josh Allen. Orlovsky writing, he makes good decisions both in and out of structure. He did throw 10 interceptions, lost 3 fumbles last season, but his tape shows an ability to read the defense and avoid getting baited into trouble.
There's the full breakdown, straight off the show, so nobody can accuse anybody of taking this out of context. Josh Allen tops 3 different categories, including the one everybody's arguing about: 10 interceptions, 3 lost fumbles. And Orlovsky's answer to that stat line is basically, you don't get credit for the stuff that doesn't happen, which, fair enough, is a philosophy. The problem is what happens next, because Nick Wright doesn't think that philosophy survives contact with the actual tape. Here's the thing you need to understand about Dan Orlovsky's list before this turns into a full-blown argument, because context actually matters here. This isn't some hot take graphic somebody threw together for engagement. This is his third annual quarterback trade rankings, published on ESPN.com, breaking quarterbacks down across 7 different categories: arm strength, ball placement, mechanics, decision-making, pocket presence, second reaction, and rushing ability. Josh Allen shows up at number 1 in 3 of those 7. Not a small sample. A guy who's genuinely being argued as the most well-rounded quarterback in football by the metric that actually publishes it. And Josh Allen isn't even the only pick from this list that's got people fired up. Over on that same panel, Jalen Hurts got dropped all the way to 10th in decision-making, which set off its own argument about whether a guy with 2 Super Bowl trips and a Super Bowl MVP should ever be sitting outside the top 5 in anything. So this isn't an isolated Josh Allen problem. This is a list that's managed to pick fights with 3 different fan bases and 2 different national shows in the same week, all built on the same basic tension: trait evaluation on tape versus what actually happens on Sundays when the games count.
Process is attached to a little bit of the performance from last season and trying to foreshadow a little bit of the upcoming season, the player health, the potential. There's also some situations where you sit there and go, really like this guy, this other guy's been really good, trying to get certain people's names to get a little bit of shine on some guys and whatnot. So there's a lot of names that flirt in between like the 7 to 10 range and whatnot. So
that's Orlovsky walking through his own methodology. And credit where it's due, he's not hiding the ball on how subjective this stuff gets. Film, last season's tape, a little bit of projection, a little bit of gut feeling about who deserves more shine. That's a defensible way to build a list. It's also exactly the kind of soft methodology that turns into a 5-alarm fire the second somebody with a national platform disagrees hard enough on live television. And Nick Wright disagreed hard.
This is the playoff game, divisional round against Denver.
That's a decision.
That is not a great play by a defensive player where you fumble. That's not Lamar when he fumbled against Buffalo a couple years ago, where he just kind of dropped the ball. That is a decision-making fumble. All right, and it arguably cost them the game. Denver got a field goal, went up 20-10 at the half. They lost by 3 points.
That's not vibes. That's tape, with a specific game, a specific quarter, and a specific score attached to it. Wright isn't just saying he feels a certain way about Josh Allen. He's pointing at a divisional round loss and arguing the turnover that swung it wasn't bad luck or a great defensive play. It was a mental error. from the guy Orlovsky just crowned the best decision maker alive. And it's not the only example sitting there for anybody willing to go look. Josh Allen threw 10 interceptions and lost 3 fumbles last season, numbers that are right there in Orlovsky's own write-up, not buried anywhere. The defense of that stat line is that you don't get credit for the disasters that didn't happen, only the ones that did, and the tape shows him mostly avoiding disaster. Wright's counter is that when the disaster does happen, it tends to happen in the moments that matter most, in January, with a season on the line. And that's exactly the kind of decision-making failure a best-in-football label is supposed to rule out. Here's where it stops being a disagreement about one player and turns into something sharper.
There's 7 traits he evaluates. So I took where he ranked Mahomes and Allen. Are we saying, because Dan is saying this, there's nothing in football Patrick's better at than Josh? There's nothing? There's not a single thing? There's not one thing I guess you could say they're both not ranked on pocket presence, so maybe he's higher than him there. I happen to think Mahomes' pocket presence is pretty good. I happen to think the description for second reaction ability, where he has Josh first and Mahomes third, the literal description is the ability to make off-platform throws from different angles.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the sport Patrick's better at than Josh. He's worse at him than everything.
That's the turning point of the entire segment, and it's a genuinely good piece of research, not just an insult. Wright actually went back through all 7 categories, cross-referenced where Mahomes and Allen landed in each one, and found that Allen was ranked at or above Mahomes across the board. Every single trait. Which means, according to the list, there isn't one single thing Patrick Mahomes does better than Josh Allen. Not arm strength, not pocket presence, not decision-making. Not one category out of 7 where a 3-time MVP with 3 championship rings comes out ahead. Sit with that for a second, because that's the part that actually makes this a story instead of just another quarterback debate. Nobody's necessarily wrong to think Josh Allen has become an elite decision maker. The tape supports real growth there. The problem is the specific claim being made, that there's genuinely nothing, not one trait out of 7, where the guy who's been to 5 Super Bowls in 6 years and won 3 of them still holds an edge. That's not a close call anymore. That's a claim big enough to build an entire segment of outrage around. And it did exactly that.
No, I agree. And I actually think Mahomes is the best decision maker in football.
That's Wright's co-host jumping in. And now it's not a one-man pile-on, it's the whole desk landing in the same place. Not Josh Allen's overrated, not Orlovsky's wrong about everything. Just a simple, specific correction. If anybody in football deserves that specific crown, it's the guy with the actual championship resume to back it up. Think about what a claim like this actually does once it's out there. Rankings like this don't just sit quietly on a website. They get repeated, screenshotted, argued about in group chats, used as ammunition every time these 2 quarterbacks meet on the field. If Josh Allen goes out this season and has a clean, mistake-free year, this list ages like fine wine, and everybody forgets anybody ever doubted it. But if he throws a costly pick in a big spot, and he's done it before in exactly these kinds of moments, that same list becomes the thing people point back to and mock. Orlovsky put his name on a claim with almost no margin for error, and that's exactly why it's getting this much pushback in week 1 of the discourse. And it's worth pointing out this isn't an isolated complaint about one category on one show, because the exact same pattern showed up on a completely different set.
Yeah, the Jordan Love of it all, having him third in decision-making. I go back to week 3 against the Cleveland Browns. At the end of the game on 3rd down, he throws a pick. If he just eats the ball and they punt it, they win the football game. Like, those are the examples, the plays that we've seen from Jordan Love, where you scratch your head and you wonder whether or not this guy really is aware of what he needs to in order for his team to get to where they want to go.
That's Chris Canty pushing back on a completely different quarterback landing in Orlovsky's decision-making top 3, using the exact same kind of specific, game-deciding evidence Wright used against the Allen ranking. Different show, different quarterback, same core problem. Multiple panels of people who've actually played or covered this league at the highest level keep pointing at real turnovers and real high-leverage moments and asking how those square with best decision-maker labels. And Orlovsky doesn't back down from any of it, which is worth giving him credit for. Pushed on that exact Jordan Love pick a day later on a completely different show, he didn't soften the ranking at all. He pointed to the numbers instead. Touchdowns compared against the combined total of interceptions and sacks, arguing that ratio tells a cleaner story than any single highlight reel mistake. Whether or not you buy that argument, at least he's making it with his name attached and his face on camera, which puts him in a very different category from the anonymous sources this channel usually spends its time dragging.
I appreciate you having Matthew Stafford and Josh Allen at the top, especially with how people thought Josh Allen was kind of a bonehead at the beginning of his career. Yeah. Now he's making good decisions.
And to be fair, it's not universal pushback. Over on the Pat McAfee show, the reaction to that same Josh Allen ranking was basically the opposite: respect for how far he's actually come. Josh Allen's rookie tape was genuinely reckless. Bad reads, worse decisions, the kind of quarterback play that gets you labeled a bust before you get labeled anything else. So there's a real argument buried underneath all the outrage. Maybe this ranking isn't rewarding Josh Allen for being perfect. Maybe it's rewarding him for the biggest decision-making leap of any quarterback in the league over the last few years. It's genuinely a fair point, and it's worth sitting with for a second instead of just picking a side and moving on. Go back and watch Josh Allen's first 2 seasons in Buffalo, and it's a completely different quarterback. The kind of player who'd force throws into triple coverage because his arm told him he could, not because the read said he should. The version of Josh Allen playing right now bears almost no resemblance to that guy. So when Orlovsky says the tape shows an ability to read the defense and avoid getting baited into trouble, he's not making that up out of nowhere. He's describing a real transformation. The disagreement isn't really about whether that transformation happened. It's about whether one really good stretch of seasons is enough to leapfrog a guy who's been doing it at an elite level for almost a decade straight, deep into the playoffs every single year. So here's my answer to the question I asked you at the top. Is Josh Allen the best decision maker in football, or did Dan Orlovsky hand out the most indefensible ranking of the offseason? Honestly, it's neither extreme. The growth argument is real. Nobody's denying Josh Allen in year 8 is a different, smarter quarterback than Josh Allen as a rookie. But most improved and best in the league right now are 2 completely different rankings, and Orlovsky collapsed them into 1. Nick Wright's receipts on that Denver fumble and that 7-category sweep aren't nothing. They're specific, they're recent, and they're the exact kind of evidence that makes best decision maker in football a much harder sentence to defend than most improved. And that's really what this whole argument comes down to once you strip away the noise. 2 guys who respect each other on 2 different shows, looking at the same tape and walking away with completely different conclusions, because trait rankings were never really pure math to begin with. They're educated opinions wearing a spreadsheet's clothes. Dan Orlovsky's allowed to have his. Nick Wright's allowed to rip it apart on live television. That's not a scandal. That's just what happens when you publish a ranking with your name on it instead of hiding behind sources say. And honestly, the league could use a lot more of that and a lot less of the other thing. All right, that's the story. Drop your verdict in the comments, Team Orlovsky or Team Wright. Smash that like button, subscribe if you want more of these breakdowns, and share this with the one friend in your group chat who still thinks Josh Allen doesn't turn the ball over. See you in the next one.